Good morning, my crafty friends, and we're now in the throes of September. And just as I was thinking, I really missed Junk Journal July. I was on a video call with the lovely ladies from Junk Journal UK and Junk Journal Fairies UK last night, and they said join Junk Journal UK, which I did, and we've got a September challenge, which is Scraptember. So day one is to create a journal using scrap and 8 A4 pages. Mine are slightly larger than A4 because they've come out of a music book that I picked up at a charity donation-based bookshop near us in Evesham. It's a fantastic place for resources. And I've cut... The idea was to use a book cover, but I don't have a book cover that's the same size, so I'm going to make the cover. So I've cut 2 rectangles out of, this is the cardboard. You know when you buy a pack of paper and you get the thick cardboard at the back? So that's the cardboard from that. And I've cut my spine and I've marked my holes ready to sew in. When I was at my mum's the other day, I spotted her rather large Amazon packaging. And I stole it. I said, I'm going to use that for one of my craft projects. So we're going to cover it in this Amazon packaging paper, which is rather large. So I'm just going to tear it. Yeah, and I'm going to scrunch it up just to give it a little bit more of a scrappy feel. And we're going to just flatten it out a bit. And I'm going to turn it over because I don't want the Amazon logo on my book. But that is going to form the cover for my Junk Journal's Scraptember journal. But first things first, we need to make the book cover. So I've got 2 rectangles, which are slightly larger than an A5. And this middle bit I've cut 2 centimetres wide. So I'm going to use some masking tape just to fix the boards together. So hopefully if I line the masking tape up, this is always a little bit of a fiddly bit, and I can just stick that one down. And then I use this ruler because it's got about a ½ centimetre edge, and I'm going to put that in there and try and line this one up as best I can up to the edge. Marvellous. Take the ruler out so you can see I've kind of lined that up. No, it needs to come up a tiny bit more. Oh, we'll work that one out. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same with this side. There are special tools you can buy that line everything up for you, but I didn't want to buy anything as I'm trying to not buy, and if I do buy, it's from charity shops or scrap stores, so that I'm using up other people's scrap or other people's waste. So I'm just going to stick that over. I'm just going to stick that over. And then we're going to line this one up as well. Lined up, yeah. Oh, that one lined up better. And just stick. You could use a piece of dowel or anything really, some wide card or anything really, just to create that even gap. That just gives you space to fold. So I'm going to just put 1 strip of masking tape down the middle, just to give that some extra strength. really just getting my nail in and just scoring that middle bit. Sometimes I use gaffer tape, but for this project I think masking tape will work. And then that is the basic, oh, actually it's lined up okay, the basic cover for your journal. Just going to punch the holes through again so I know where they are. I'm not going to do a hidden sew this time. I'm going to actually just sew it straight through and tie the string into a knot. So we're just going to cover this with Mod Podge. Well, I'm not going to use Mod Podge. I'm going to use my wonderful splodge, giving it a good shake. And then we're going to stick the Amazon paper onto that. So, got a pasting brush. It's just a cheap paintbrush. And in we go. Try and do this quite quick. I want to keep this video real time. I know I do speed up lots of my other videos. But for this one, I'd like to keep it real time so you can see actually how quick it can be to make a journal cover. Obviously, I have already cut the pieces out, but that didn't take me long at all. And I folded the pages and tore them out of the sheet music book yesterday evening after our lovely group Zoom call, which was really nice actually. I do find the crafting community is really helpful, really kind, which just really helps with some of the anxieties we have about our own work. So it was just really nice to get online and craft together. It was really interesting. Sometimes the whole chat just went silent because we were so deep in our own craft. The other ladies on the chat mostly were doing the journal cards, which is day 2. I'm going to slightly cheat for that because I have some master boards I made a while ago, so I'm going to use those to make some journal cards to pop in the second page, day 2 of my Scraptember journal. So pop that to one side. Then I'm just going to place this over the top and just give it a press down. Because I've scrunched up the paper, I'm not too fussed if it folds over itself. Just kind of adds to the scrappiness. Making sure it's all stuck down, pressing into that, the folds. Okay, just give that a really good press down. Okay, and lift it up. And then I'm just going to cut probably about 2 or 3 centimetres around the edges, just so I've got a semi kind of consistent border around. Lovely. Shuffle that bit. Now I always start by gluing the top down because the shorter edges are easier to glue in. So I'm just going to glue along the top. Making sure I get right in. And just bring it over. Nice and tight. I normally actually cover my books with fabric, and I do have fabric scraps, but for this project I wanted to use brown paper, And remembered that I had that Amazon packaging lying around. Just push that down. Making sure it's all stuck down. Flip it round. Do the other long edge. So my splodge is just a mix of medium, which is quite a thick PVA, mixed with some clear PVA, just to make it spreadable. The medium's quite a strong PVA actually. It sticks really well, and they both dry clear, which is good. Making sure that's all really stuck down. Okay. Let's do these corners. So I'm just going to snip the corner a bit and the other corner. Fold that over. Actually, probably take some of that off. Some of that off. Okay. It's actually gone really nice and neat. Sometimes I snip the corners too close and you end up with a gap, but actually that's gone really nice and neat. Excellent. So just snipping into the corner, and again snipping the corner. Just snip off some of the excess. Okay. We're going to glue down, making sure that everything's really glued tightly. Ooh. Okay, and we're going to bend that over. Really good stick down. Okay, so we have our cover, and I need to leave that to dry, but let's just punch those holes back through again. Where's that one? I can feel it. There it is. Lovely jubbly. So I'm just going to push them through from this side because I don't actually want the sticky outy bit on this side. So I've got those holes there. Okay. Now to do the inside, I haven't quite decided whether I'm going to stick a book page, as in a sheet of this music, but it's not quite big enough, or whether I'm just going to cover that with brown paper. So for now, I'm going to leave that to dry to one side. And we're going to come to, just get rid of that glue. I don't want my pages sticking. Right, so I've got 8, 5, 6, 7, 8 sheet music pages, which I have folded in half, and I'm just going to snip the corners. Okay. Okay. Just checking that's still lined up. Yep. And I am going to distress, but just really gently, the edges of each page now, because I think that will be easier to do before I stick it in. So I'm not going to do a massive distress. I'm just going to kind of edge the pages a little. And the idea is that we don't decorate these pages, that when we do each Scraptember day, that we then what's the word I'm looking for? That we then do each page as we come to it. So we're just making a very simple junk journal, actually made from junk, which was quite nice. So I'm going to continue distressing those. I'm going to pause, finish distressing the pages, leave this to dry, and we'll be back in 5. And we're back. And I have distressed all the edges of the paper. So I'm going to put that to one side. And I've decided I'm going to use more of the packaging paper to cover the inside of the cover. So I'm just going to very faintly do a rough outline of how big the book is. Oh, it doesn't matter that that's kind of gone off the corner. Try not to draw onto the book. Okay. And then I love these rulers that have these like almost centimetre divots on. I'm going to use that to tear my paper. You can see I've torn it about a centimetre in from the line I drew. And again, hopefully my ruler will just be long enough. Might have to move the ruler down in a bit, but just hold that down. And tear. Okay, bringing it down. Okay, and again, about a centimetre in from the line I drew. Again, there we go. And one last one. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do every day, because I have got my discarded project that I'm starting this month. I've also got full deck challenge to catch up on, my glue book I'd like to do once a week. So I just do this once a week, and it might go into October. And it'll just be a project. I might do it twice a week. It'll depend what I'm feeling that week and what else I've got going on. So I'm going to glue the inside of the book, and then I'm going to stick that on there, which will just cover that card. So let's get glue happy. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to doing the discarded project. If you haven't already, go and have a look at the ideas junk journal I created, which was the GCSE Art Textiles project homework over the summer that my friend Miss Baker set for her students. And then I'm going to be creating my folio and final piece in real time alongside the year 10s, following it through to year 11 and their GCSE projects. So I'm really looking forward to that project. It's going to take the whole year to complete. I think it's a whole year project, which is cool. So, and it'd be really nice actually to see something from beginning to end, which was what I really liked about Junk Journal July. So hopefully just doing this maybe once or twice a week will take me up to the Junk Journal January that Lindsay and Sandra are organising on the Junk Journal community chat group on Facebook. I mostly use Facebook for arts and crafty groups. I get lots of ideas from there. I do need to work out Instagram. I post lots of my videos onto the varying groups, and I know some people are in a few of the same groups I'm in, so they probably see 3 lots of my videos, or maybe even 4, depending on how many of the groups they're in. So just going to kind of line that up, and then just make sure it's all stuck down. Give it a really, really good press down. I want to get it all stuck down. Making sure all the edges are really stuck down. There we go. So we have our cover, and because it is Scraptember, I'm going to use some of my scrap roll to just create kind of a band on the front cover that I'm then going to put lettering, which I'm going to cut from I'm going to find the word scrap in a magazine, and I've got lots of calendars, so I can cut out timber. Just making sure all those bits are well stuck down. There we go. And I'm just going to glue the back. So my scrap roll is just bits and bobs from my scrap drawer, like those bits I've just torn off. I stick them in my scrap drawer, and then just using the wide masking tape and just tear it and stick it down, sometimes overlapping. Overlapping to cover, and then either cut or tear it roughly to the edge. Let's just make sure that's straight. Okay. That's what I wanted to do. Bearing with. Just going to tear this up a little, because what I wanted to do was fold it over and tuck it under the inside. So folding it over, just tuck it in there, and then I'm going to press that back down. And then do the same on this side. So I'm just going to peel it up a little. So I can fold that over and glue. Stick that down. So I'm just going to leave that for 5 minutes, just let it have a good dry, and then we will come back and we will sew the signature in. I'll be back, and everything is dry, and we're back. So I've got this lovely scrappy calendar that I picked up, Emma Bridgewater 2024. So I think I'm probably going to use that quite a lot in this book. I quite like it. It's quite autumny as well. So I pulled out September, and I have got the timber bit. I did use the P as well, but what I'm going to do is just cut that out. And I'm just going to distress around the edge because I want it to not blend into the scrap roll. And I went through my harvested magazine letters, which I keep in a little box, and they're all sorted into letters. Look, I'll show you. So these are my harvested magazine words and letters. There's an envelope for each letter, and I just, as I pick up magazines or freebie things come through the door, I chop the letters up. Sometimes I keep them as words. Sometimes I chop the letters up and just stick them in the correct letter. It's a really nice rainy day afternoon activity to do. So I'm just going to put a good, generous layer of glue. And so we've got the timber. And then got my word scrap. Let's just pray it fits. Probably should have done that first. I think it's just about going to fit. We can trim this up. To just about fit on there. Lovely. So again, generous helping of glue. And I'm going to stick the P down first. The A just slightly coming over the top of it. And then I'm going to stick the S down. The R coming in. No, the R goes there. We don't want scrap. And then the C will just slot on top there. Genius. I'm just going to put a bit of glue on that one. So I can just wrap around the top. Sit quite nicely. So I'm sure as we go through I'll end up adding more to the cover, but for the now we've got it this. So let's sew in the pages. So I'm just using jute string, so I'm just going to cut off quite a length. This is how I sew in my signatures. I don't know if this is the right way, but it works for me. That one. Oop. There we go. So this is how I do it. Sometimes I start from the middle and go out, but this time I'm going to go in because I want the bow on the outside. So I'm just going to wiggle it through. Did make the holes. I'm going to leave quite a length, and then because I punched my holes in my pages so they all lined up, I can just go through. Okay, and pull that tight onto the bind. Then I go down I didn't want to make the holes too big. I'm just going to pull that tight. I'm going to come in and go through the hole in the paper. Okay. Have I sewn that upside down? Hang on. Bearing with. Go back actually sewing the pages in upside down. Yeah. Let's start again. Start again. So there's a slightly smaller gap and a larger gap. So the smaller gap goes at the bottom. This helps if you sew your pages in the right way up. Right, let's start again. So we come in from the outside, leaving quite a length. And I'm going to go into the middle. Oh, sorry, just knocked to the camera. Then I'm going to go back through. Give it a little wiggle. Making sure I've still got that good length. And then we're going to come back in through the back and the pages. Give it a wiggle. Now, this is where I think I differ to everyone else. I now go back through that hole. Taking it back through the middle. Whoop. Helps you don't drop your book on the floor. And then I go through the other two holes. So on the back you can see, like, I've got a whole seam of sewing. Pull that back through, just make sure that's tight. You could wax your string, make it easier to get through the holes. I don't bother. I either use jute string, or I use embroidery threads, or I use, come on. Why is that not worked? Okay, so I'm going to go in through there. I'm actually going to go in. I'm going to loop it around and come back out again. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So let's come back through this one. Hole. There you go. So I'm just going to loop it round, and then I'm going to come back through that hole. So just making sure everything's pulled tight. Okay, and I'm going to go back through. I'm just going to make that hole slightly bigger. Trying not to stab myself in the process. Make sure you can see what I'm doing. I have this line of masking tape on my desk that tells me where the edge of the video is, so that, because I do have a habit of dropping my projects out the video, sorry, and I keep bashing. Right, that is now nice and tight. So then on this one, just going to tie it in a bow. So that will be on the spine. And there we have my Scraptember journal made. So we've just got all the pages sewn in, and I've got a slightly wide spine so that if it does gator mouth a little, it's not going to be a problem. I am going to try and keep this relatively flat. My junk journal July was really wide, So I'm going to try not to put too much 3D stuff in, but it's being scrap, it's mostly going to be papers and fabric and scrappy little bits of lace, not big bulky things. So happy scrapping, and we will come together for the next video, maybe this week, maybe next week, not sure. Thanks for watching.